So, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Thursday, January 23rd. The wrong agenda, January 15th, 2025 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So before we get started, we are going to hear from our state university. But before we do that, I'd just like to introduce to the committee Jennifer Wang from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Boston. She's a deputy director. So that office is like a consulate, although we don't have that formal agreement with Taiwan. But every year, the deputy director and director general generally come up to Vermont and we have a conversation with them. We ask the director general to come in if he has time or she has time and have a discussion with our committee on economic development and our close ties with Taiwan. We probably don't think of that, but we do have very close ties with, and I believe Taiwan is our #1 trading partner.
Yes.
So Jennifer is here visiting today and chatting with and meeting people. She's new to her position at the Boston office. I think you said you were doing passports prior.
Yes.
So welcome. We're happy to have you with us and look forward to talking with you more and meeting the director general in the next month or two when you're able to come up. So thank you. I know you want to chat with the vice chair, so I'll invite you and the vice chair to, there's another office there where you can go and meet with the vice chair. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation and introduction. I look forward to more cooperation with the committee. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's not just state or US officials, it's officials from abroad as well. I actually was blessed with having been invited to go to Taiwan in 2011 when I was vice chair of the committee. Very interesting trip. So maybe someday some of you will be able to go as well. So now we'll turn our attention to still got the wrong agenda. In the event, Beth, would you like to do that? So happy to say that we have our chancellor of our state college systems, our universities, state Vermont universities. Had the pleasure of meeting Beth a couple of weeks ago in Johnson. And a lot of good ideas that are coming out of the chancellor's office, and glad that you were able to come and join the committee and let us know. Workforce development is one of our main points of what this committee's jurisdiction is, and I know that state colleges are there to help us attain the goals that the state needs for workforce development. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks to all of you. For the record, I am Beth Mauk, the Chancellor of the Vermont State Colleges System. I'm here today with Sharon Scott, who is the Chief Financial and Operating Officer of the Vermont State Colleges System. And really thank you, Chair Marcotte, for this opportunity for us to talk about all the great things that are going on with the Vermont State Colleges System. So the Vermont State Colleges System was founded for the benefit of Vermont by the legislature in the 1960s. And what that means is that we believe that every Vermonter should have access to high quality higher education, regardless of their income or location. And we know that we need to continue to develop to meet the workforce needs of the state in order to really power the Vermont state economy and prepare learners at every stage of their life be able to take the job opportunities of today. Now, it was only a couple of years ago that the Vermont State Colleges system was really in some dire financial straits. We only had 8 days of cash on hand. And clearly what that definitely demonstrated to us was that the model as it was really just was not going to be sustainable. The legislature stepped in and has provided us with a lot of assistance, including a select committee recommendation, which for now 4 years we have been following in order to get to stability. And what I'm happy to say today is we really have turned a corner at the Vermont State Colleges system. And we are really looking forward to more good news in the future. Just a little bit about me. I live in Cornwall in Addison County. My family and I moved here before I even had this position. I have just been so excited to go around this state, meeting thousands of people, hearing about Vermont, and really my family and I are really all in with the beauty of Vermont. And I've just been so excited by all the folks that I've met and to have this opportunity and ability to really work with folks who are looking to better Vermont. So that's been exciting to me. Just as a little reminder, so the Vermont State Colleges system actually consists of 2 institutions: the Community College of Vermont, which has 12 centers from Bennington to Montpelier to St. Albans and everywhere in between. And we also have Vermont State University, which is comprised of the 5 legacy campuses of Castleton, Johnson, Linden, Randolph, and Williston. All combined, there are 850 of our faculty, staff, and other employees who live and work in the rural areas of Vermont and really help to create those communities in those centers. We believe that we can be of help to Vermont. We help to develop the workforce. Right now, one of our big priorities has been developing the new nursing workforce for the state of Vermont, and we've been able to really increase the number of nurses that we're putting out. Secondly, though, we also can support in things like flood recovery. During the past couple of summers when the towns have flooded, our small business center has gone out and really looked at how they can help these businesses not only survive the floods, but to really thrive in those. And really, I want to thank this committee, because without your support and dedication over these past couple of years, we wouldn't be able to be the resource to Vermont that we have been. Just a little bit more about the leadership of the Vermont State Colleges system. So it consists of 2 presidents, Joyce Judy. I'm sure everyone in this room knows Joyce. Longtime president of the Community College of Vermont, has just fantastic ideas about how to ensure that we're meeting the workforce needs of the state, but also how to ensure that the Community College of Vermont has remained agile as they've met those needs. And it's just been a pleasure for me to work with her. Dave Berg is the president of the Vermont State University. He was a longtime Johnson State College employee and came back to Vermont and really has helped us to stabilize Vermont State University. And then I'm the chancellor. So you might say, okay, what exactly is a chancellor? So you can think of a chancellor really as the CEO of a multi-division corporation. So we have a Community College of Vermont and the Vermont State University, which serve different demographics and different needs of our students in the state. Without a chancellor, we wouldn't be speaking from one voice or be able to really meet the needs in ways that make sense for Vermont. And so that is what my office really does, is we're here to support the 2 institutions, to listen around the state and to hear so that we're able to anticipate what the needs are around the state. And as I said, it's just been a joy for me to work with both of these great people. In addition, we have a board of trustees that oversees the Vermont State Colleges system. Just as an example, 4 of those members are legislative trustees, and another 5 of them are appointed by the governor. Really, this has been one of the most dedicated and hardworking boards I've ever met. They really made some of the difficult decisions that needed to be made so that we could stabilize and now thrive. They cut the budget by $5 million a year for VTSU. They reduced the workforce by 15%. But they also put aside money so that we would have money for deferred maintenance and that we would have funds to do some of the really innovative projects that we want to do. So they really were thinking forward as they were ensuring that this system was sustainable. And let me just say that state investment really is driving change for us. So here's what we know about our students today. Right now, the average age of a student who is part-time is 27. And students, even who are in traditional programs that we normally all think of, a 4-year program, their average age is 22. So when we think of 18 to 22-year-olds even, the average age actually is much older. These students are really concerned about the cost of an education and not student debt so much as how am I going to pay for next semester's tuition? And these decisions that they have to make really have impacted them as they have tried to enter into public higher education. And they want flexibility. As older students, they have jobs they would like to earn while they learn. They might have family commitments. And so they really need the flexibility that we're seeing. So we've changed and adapt to meet those needs. We have leveraged the strength of this system. One of the things that we've done is now students can take classes anywhere. And while you might say, well, they always could probably take a class anywhere, now because we have more online offerings and because we're able to really meet the needs of our students, they really can take classes anywhere with more online classes. We have reduced the tuition. So the tuition at Vermont State University in 2022 was reduced to meet some of the concerns that students have. And the legislature has funded 802 opportunity grants for Community College of Vermont. And so that any student who makes, or their family makes less than $75,000 a year actually has an opportunity to go to CCV for free. And that has really meant not only recruiting more students, but retaining those students through a credential or degree that they are interested in. So this progress has been exciting, but also necessary. I am excited to share with this committee that we, at the end of this transformation period, will have a balanced budget, and we're very excited about that. But it will require us to continue to change. And frankly, once again, none of this would have happened without you in this committee. I also have great news to share about our enrollment and other workforce impacts. So last year, we graduated 2,000 students in certificate programs, associates, bachelor's, master's. We enrolled more than 10,000 students in degree-seeking programs, and we enrolled another 7,000 students in workforce development programs. And 80% of these folks were Vermonters. And other good news on VTSU's front, this last year in the fall, there was a 14% increase in new student enrollment for VTSU, which we were very excited about. And we're seeing strong numbers for the fall of 2025. So people clearly are now starting to see the Vermont State Colleges system as an institution of choice for themselves. I do have a vision for the future. So once again, the Vermont State Colleges was established by the legislature for the benefit of Vermont. And I will tell you that that notion of for the benefit of Vermont really has been what has guided me and will continue to guide me. We believe that every student, regardless of their income or location, should have access to high quality higher education, and that we will have to continue to develop in order to meet the workforce needs so that we can drive the future of Vermont's economy. And that we can prepare students through every phase of their life, remember the ages of our students, so that they are able to take the job opportunities that are out there today. Once again, we've had to rethink the way we serve Vermonters with online growth, also with housing. So when you have students who are in different demographics, we really have to be thinking about the different kinds of housing that these students may need. They'd like to live in our communities 12 months out of the year. They would like to have opportunities to be able to do that. And so we're really thinking about how we can best leverage some of those options for them. And we're expanding things like apprenticeship programs so that students do have these opportunities, very early opportunities, to step into higher education, to get the kind of positions that they're looking for, and hopefully that they do see us as an institution of choice throughout their entire lives. So our future will look very, very different from what our past looked like, though. with students wanting more online options, with students who are older than we might traditionally expect, we will have to continue to evolve. And those will be changes that folks will see around the state, but we want to ensure that we are always meeting the needs of Vermonters. And let me just talk about a couple of cool, exciting programs. One at CCV is called the Career Pathways Entry Program, CPEP. It's a 6-week program that really allows students to do job shadowing and beginning apprenticeships to start to give them the idea of what this might look like for them. A grant for $1.2 million funds that, the Northern Borders Regional Consortium. So we're very excited for those external funds. Also, CCV is now acting as an entry point to early childhood education. We have a stackable certificate program where students can start at CCV and then move to VTSU. And this has been one of the things we've really been focusing on, is to ensure that students, when they've started at CCV, can seamlessly transfer or seamlessly go to the next area, which we are really hoping is VTSU. Also, at VTSU, there has been growing interest in the plumbing and electrical programs, apprenticeship programs that we have. We are looking to develop more of those programs and really start to anticipate the workforce needs of Vermont. So how can we be anticipating what kinds of apprenticeships are needed so that when the workforce needs those, we're able to really act upon those? And then lastly, for me, we also have a number of nursing initiatives that we've been working on. We are looking to increase the number of nurses in the state of Vermont. We are already well on our way to that. Once again, through stackable credentials that can start at CCV, excuse me, and go to VTSU, but also allowing students to enter these programs for what makes sense for them. So even having some programs where students can, as high school students, take a couple of courses, or having courses that are online so that working professionals who might be working in a hospital have an opportunity to be taking the kinds of coursework that they need. These kinds of examples really should show how we are really trying to mold to meet the needs of Vermont. So thank you. I will now pass this on to my CFO, Sharon.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Sharon Scott. I'm the Chief Financial and Operating Officer of the Vermont State Colleges. I'm a native Vermonter, and I currently live in Morrisville with my husband. And both of my children actually graduated from Vermont State University and the Vermont State Colleges. So I am really proud of the system that I've worked with and in since 2003. And I've had the opportunity to work at our individual campus locations, including both Johnson and Linden, as well as serving in this broader role in the system office. So I get to have a bird's eye view of how we have an impact statewide, but I also get to see very clearly how that's impacted my own household with my daughter, who's now a teacher. And it makes it really exciting for me to see what we can offer. I want to just take us back, as Beth noted earlier, in 2020, there was a lot of noise that was going on, and the system was really in a lot of significant issues. And if you've listened to the VPR story in the last 24 hours and read the article, we were in a really dire situation. We had 8 days of cash on hand. We were concerned about whether we could make payroll, and the legislature stepped in and offered significant support and assistance to help us. With the work of the Select Committee and the legislature's decision in Act 77 of 2021 to fund the Vermont State Colleges and bridge funding to help us move forward to financial sustainability, we've been able to make really significant progress and vitally transform who we are. And I'm pleased to say that I've been in this seat for that entire transformation. And I'm excited to share that we really are turning the corner that Beth has said. Are we out of the woods completely yet? No, but I can see where the edge of the woods is, and that makes me extraordinarily happy. Like all industries, higher education uses metrics. Our metric is called the Composite Financial Index. And between 2015 and 2019, our Composite Financial Index really suggested that we should be assessing our viability to survive. Frankly, we should have been assessing that for the previous 15 years prior to 2020. But the issues that occurred with COVID brought that really to a fore and has allowed us to be able to really focus our attention on making sure that we achieve financial sustainability. with the work of the legislature, with the bridge funding that you've provided, with the opportunities for us to really transform the way that we conduct our work, I'm really pleased to show that our composite financial index, which is a really arcane formula, is showing us that we are making a huge difference. Now, there were a couple of years in when higher education emergency relief was coming, where many higher education institutions were seeing positive movement. But the fact that 2024 also shows a really strong composite financial index is one that says that we are moving in the direction that we need to go. From a financial sustainability perspective, that continues to be our long-term goal. We still are anticipating that for this year and for the next fiscal year, we will be in a deficit situation. That being said, we have 4 strategies that we're really working on to really move our way towards financial sustainability. And the first of which is really focusing on stabilizing that enrollment at Vermont State University. They've made a good head start at that this past fall with a 14% increase in new starts, and we're anticipating a double-digit increase in new starts. But as with all higher education institutions, we are having to eat the elephant. When you have smaller classes behind you, you still have to work with that for a few years. And it's going to take us a few years to fully stabilize that. But the brand that is Vermont State University, specifically that name Vermont, is really resonating with our students, and it's resonating in the New England area and throughout the country, which is phenomenal. We are also looking at addressing our total compensation for our employees. And we're working with our collective bargaining units to really look at having competitive wages and sustainable benefits, and making sure that as we move forward, we're able to meet the needs of our employees and attract employees who want to stay and remain within the Vermont State Colleges that I love so incredibly dearly. We'll also be working, and we've been talking about this for a while, is the opportunity to really right-size the Vermont State College campuses using really creative solutions, whether that is public-private partnership or others. But we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our communities and of Vermont and Vermonters. And then lastly, we are working on a project right now to replace our enterprise resource planning system, and that's our primary computer system, and that work will be launching within the next few months. In terms of an overall budget request, we will be requesting a 5.9% increase in our budget. And I expect that we'll be back in the committee for a greater length of time, where you'll hear a little bit more about this in depth. But that is a 3% increase to the standard base plus 1.5 million. And that additional 1.5 million is related to a reduction in the structural deficit reduction that was required under the previous Act 77. That amount was changed from 25 million to 22 million. And so we're making a request for an additional 1.5 million to help us meet that particular need. We're also requesting $5 million in bridge funding, and that is consistent with what we've been discussing with you as a legislature and what was really agreed to as part of the select committee, and is work that we are anticipating ongoing. And so that is the final major request that we have with that. But overall, that is our primary budget request. And I do expect that I'll be in and able to answer more detailed questions for you later, but we wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. And we really thank you for that opportunity to be able to be here today and introduce you to the Vermont State Colleges. And we look forward to answering any questions you have. Thank you.
Before we open it up for questions, I'll just let the committee introduce themselves to you as well, so you know the areas of the state that people are representing, and put a name to a face. John.
My name is Jonathan Cooper. I live in Pownell, representing Pownell, Stamford, Reedsboro, Searsburg, and Woodford. And my wife was an employee at CCB in Bennington for a number of years.
Excellent. I'm Emily Karen Duncan, Wilmington, Nottingham, and Halifax.
Herb Olson, representing Bristol, Lincoln, Moncton, and Starksville.
Abby Duke, excuse me, from part of Burlington.
Edie Granning, representing Jericho and Underhill, and the vice chair of the committee.
And Mike Marcotte from Coventry. I represent Coventry, Irisburg, Newport Town, Jay, Westfield, Troy, Lowell and Eaton, and chair of the committee.
Kirk White, I represent Bethel, Rochester, Stockbridge, and Hancock, and I'm the ranking member. Michael Booton, Berry City.
Nicholas from Milton, representing most of Milton and a little bit of Georgia.
Dave Bosch from Clarendon, we're up in 2 district, Wallingford, Clarendon, West Rutland, the bulk of Rutland town, and 1 child graduated from Castleton and another one from Randolph.
Excellent. Nice to hear.
And our committee staff person.
Anna Grace, representing myself.
Taking care of all of us.
Yeah.
I graduated from CCB.
Excellent. Nice to hear.
Any questions for
I might,
Michael?
sorry, I might have missed it in the presentation if you put it in there. What was your enrollment from last year and your enrollment this year? Have you gone up or down?
So the enrollment is on the chart that we shared.
And that's this year.
That's this year, and as the overall headcount has slightly gone up at VTSU, and it's about the same at the community college.
The 14% is the new student enrollment. And so, you know, as Sharon was explaining, because we have a couple of small, larger classes at the back end, so we're graduating a few more students as we're getting them in. So the enrollment was, the overall enrollment was very close to last year's enrollment.
But have you seen a significant decrease in the last couple of years or no?
We had seen a decrease several years before I arrived here. And so now, yes, so with the new student enrollment being up 14% is very significant because it's telling us that we are starting to, you know, climb out of some of those years where we didn't have as many students.
So specifically at the community college, their enrollment has remained very stable and in fact grown since 2020. And that has bucked the trend nationally for community colleges, largely due to a very significant support from the state of Vermont. The 802 Opportunity Scholarship has been a huge boon to them, as well as their partnership with the McClure Foundation. For Vermont State University, we did see declines in enrollment since 2020 through the fall of 2023.
Some of the person that came in and presented yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Advanced. And they were showing like significant decreases in enrollments for college. Was that a misunderstanding?
For Vermont high school graduates going into college.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, you're right. Which would explain it. So, okay.
Yes, right now Vermont, I think, is at the 50% mark or less for the number of high school graduates who then go on to college. We do see that as an opportunity for us to meet the needs of those students. So,
So something that's, one thing I had sort of observed, there was a comment or a slide about 90% of the participants was in a plumbing and electrician.
increased, I think, yes.
And that 90% of them are Vermonters.
80% of our overall enrollment are Vermonters. So at the Community College of Vermont and Vermont State University, around more than 80% of our students are Vermonters.
Are there, do you see draw from adjacent counties?
For out of state?
Yes.
Yes. So we do see, we have actually had an increase in enrollment from out of state students as well, actually from all over the country, but you know, certainly those boundary counties are important.
So with the plumbing and electrical programs, specifically those 90% of Vermonters, the remaining 10% are drawing from those border communities. And often they're individuals who ultimately are taking their apprenticeships and doing their work inside the borders of Vermont, but we don't count them as Vermonters per se because of where their actual residency is located.
And so there's 870 apprentices right now.
Right now.
And how long does that, is that like 2 years? How long does it take before I can get a plumber?
I think when I looked it up, it was like 18 months. A lot of it is the apprenticeship piece. So they actually are in the field doing a lot, but and the increase, I think, has been very significant.
I can speak a little bit to the electrical. My son's now master, but went through the whole program. You know, you have, I think there's 2 years or 3 years of class time along with working as an apprentice under a master electrician. And then once you graduate from your classroom, you take the test for a journeyman, you get your journeyman's, then you have another year or two of on-the-job training, continued on it. You have to have a lot of hours before you can go for your master's. So there is a time commitment, and there is a big commitment because you are working at the same time. So you're taking classes at night. But I think one thing that's really changed and really helped bring the program, evolve the program, is online. Because I know when my son did it, he was traveling from Newport to Linden twice a week in snowstorms because it was always in the fall and during the winter. So I think that's really been helpful too, that you don't have to go to the classroom every time you're doing it online. So
This is one of the side benefits, if there are any benefits of COVID, that the electrical and plumbing program went from being fully in-person classroom instruction to being online, which, as Beth notes, when you look at the learners today, if you have an average age of 27 and you're going to school part-time, it's very difficult to do that, to travel from Newport to Linden or from any location in our state in the middle, with a 7 o'clock class. So we really have seen that that's been one of the key triggers for why we're continuing to see such growth in these programs. And we're really poised to be able to continue to see that growth into the future. And as you know, getting an electrician is a really challenging thing. So the demand is very high.
On that note, if you have apprentices, they need to be under people. How difficult is it to find people willing to take these people on? And what are you doing for outreach? I happen to know a plumber who is not particularly computer savvy, but he is screaming for help. And how can they reach out to you to get apprentices? How are you outreaching to these master plumbers, master electricians, etc.?
I know we have a website, and there's actually a coordinator of each of these programs who is responsible for outreach and that piece. I do think this, though, is one of the areas where we can grow. When I talk about anticipating the needs, I certainly think something like this, like a one-stop shop, so that he would know where he could go to get a plumbing or electrical apprentice, and then be more likely to be able to get one. So that's something we're hoping to develop. But for now, we do have coordinators that they can reach out to.
I think the Department of Labor can be of assistance in that realm as well, as they work closely with the colleges to operate those programs. But generally, the electrical company or the plumbing company hires somebody, and they hopefully get someone that wants to advance. And they sponsor them. They actually pay for their school. So it's a great program. You get to become a master and earn really good money with no debt.
And these are the biggest concerns of students is how much money will it cost, and flexibility, so that they can continue to earn while they learn.
And that, it's not just in the trades either. This is in college. And I think you were talking to us, a couple of weeks ago, telling us about, there's a decrease in students on campus, but there's a reason for that, because there's a lot of part-time learners that are working, that are still taking their courses, and they're doing it online. And so, there is a shift that's going on. And I think, there's a vision that's being made, with the chancellor and the administration in the state college system on how do we look at this, going forward. What's it going to look like in, 5, 10, 20 years? And so, I give you a lot of credit for for looking at that, because there's a lot of different, we have to look at things differently because technology is changing. People are changing and everybody, especially in Vermont, you know, a lot of families are working, going paycheck to paycheck and having a hard time. Just want to mention to the committee that, you know, the 802 program that is going on actually came out of this committee during COVID. That was an idea that former Vice Chair Gene O'Sullivan from Burlington had, that we really took on and really promoted in this committee, and it's really paid dividends.
Thanks for saying that. That is a program we really have, it is a big helper, so thank you for that.
I don't know if this might be a too big question, but you mentioned right sizing the state colleges. And just to piggyback on what Rick was saying, what does that kind of, do you have some thoughts or ideas on what that looks like?
Sure. So this is particularly a question for Vermont State University, which has its legacy campuses. And you know, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are here for the benefit of Vermont. And one of the things that's very important to me, but to the system, is to ensure that really means that we are community members. When I say I have 850 employees in these communities, we're very, you know, we are very wedded to our communities. And I think we've got to be good community members. So, you know, as students are older and as they're looking for more flexibility, what I think that can mean is things like, you know, what would it look like? Can you imagine if we had, you know, some kind of housing stock that would make sense for folks? You know, houses are needed in these areas, and where people could continue to interact with these campuses. What does it look like for us to be a resource with, you know, is it a clinic? Is it maybe a grocery store that we could put on our campus? What do the communities need? And one of the things we've really been looking at this year is going out to those communities and asking them what they need and seeing how we can be a resource to that. So that's probably sort of step one of how it is we think we're going to reimagine, you know, these campuses that are sitting in communities, and, you know, seeing how we can do that in a way that makes sense for those communities and makes sense for us. You know, we are an institution of higher education, so obviously our students are number one to us, but our students are changing and they do have different needs. So we're looking to see how can we meet the needs of our students and our communities at the same time. And that'll look different on all the campuses. So, you know, you shouldn't expect to see one standard PAT thing. It'll have to look a little bit different, and we'll have to have continued conversations with those communities because we've started conversations with them already.
Just a quick question, how you're dealing with AI. College. Because I mean, I put the PICUS report into my AI thing and it tells me everything I want to know if I ask a question. Because it's like 130 pages long.
Yeah, you know, we had an AI session this summer for both, so I'll say summer, Community College of Vermont, and it might have been in the spring, the Community College of Vermont and Vermont State University. You know, I think we've always got to embrace new technologies, understand what they are and how to use them. And it is something that we've been very cautious about with folks in our IT program. You know, these programs are frankly much ahead of what many of us are even able to think of. And so being cautious and ensuring that the applications that we have out there for our own faculty, staff, and students, you know, make sense and aren't putting us at risk. But at the same time, trying to learn from these technologies and seeing how we can leverage them to get better and to serve our students better. So those are things we've been doing and will continue to do to ensure that we really are being responsible stewards of the technology, but also seeing how we can use it to help our students best.
So can you talk a little bit about the nursing program and how it has expanded, and any partnerships with private organizations that are continuing to support that growth?
So our nursing program, you know, has continued to expand, starting with some programs at CCV, which really are looking at how they can recruit students who are currently in the field, up to BSN and MSN programs that we have in the at BTSU. The MSN program being one that actually we're hoping will help us to increase the number of nursing faculty since there's such an acute need. We have looked at adding nursing facilities on a number of our campuses. The Johnson campus will be the latest campus where we're actually adding nursing facilities, because while online is clearly somewhere we're going, obviously when you're in a nursing program, there is a need for students to get together and see some of the technology and interact with some of that. So we've done that around the state, both at CCV and BTSU. We have partnerships with hospitals, and then if I'm expanding to nursing and the healthcare, allied health, we have even agreements with UVM in the respiratory therapy program and that. So really looking at, nursing primarily to get as many nurses as we possibly can, out to Vermonters, but then also what are some other healthcare programs that we can look at? And am I missing any?
No, our strong programs, we have very strong relationships with every one of the hospitals here in the state. UVM Health Network especially is a strong partner. And we are working with them on some current agreements to help educate their incumbent workforce as well, which is fantastic. For us, our biggest stumbling block when it comes to nursing is being able to recruit enough nursing educators so that we can have enough seats. That's our biggest stumbling block. And so, as we look ahead, we need to be able to solve for that problem as well. We have people who want seats. We just need to make sure we have the educators who can meet the needs.
My question stems from a couple of things. One is, it looks like you've increased the enrollment by 50%, which is amazing. And I know that we've had so many discussions with hospitals about the visiting nurses or the traveling nurses and the expenses that go along with that. And so I know this is part of that solution, right? Is trying to grow the number of nurses that we have locally. And there are lots of other steps that we need to take. So it's important for us, workforce development, to keep an eye on what else do we need to target and how else can we support, again, for the benefit of Vermont, right? So we appreciate that you've been all over this one when we have these conversations. So thank you.
It's been a real joy to do that program. And the increase you're seeing is also certainly nursing faculty is something that really is a challenge for us, but we made a commitment to increase the nursing numbers, year over year. And that's where you're now seeing that 50% increase. So we were really excited to see that the method that we use to increase it is working. But we know right now in the state, we need like 9,000 new nurses. And so that means probably over the next bunch of years, we need 1,000 nurses a year. And right now, we're producing maybe 500 of them. So we will just need to continue to work on this, continue to work to partner, with UVM, with other hospitals, and that just to make sure that we are meeting the needs of those students. But nursing students are very similar to the kinds of students that I'm talking about, where they do want to earn while they learn. They may step in and step out of a program and start with a certificate and move up. And so it is something where we've really been trying to be innovative in the model that we're using to educate the nurses.
Are you actively recruiting in other states or nationwide?
Recruiting.
For enrollment for students in any or all of the programs?
We do have, yes, we have, it's our overall recruitment strategy, but so yes, we do have a recruitment strategy for out-of-state students in every program. I don't know what the number is for nursing. I suspect probably most of our nurses are in state, with 80% of our students being from Vermont, most of them are coming from.
The vast majority of our nursing students do come from the state of Vermont because they're enrolled in our laddered credential program, which means they're really embedded in their communities. They are living and working. Most of them have families. And so they are living and working in communities where they're already embedded in, maybe it's a healthcare situation, a nursing home, a hospital, and they're looking to increase and reskill and upskill themselves to be able to move up that ladder. But we do absolutely have a strong out-of-state recruitment strategy, particularly for Vermont State University. The community college really is the state and bordering communities But for Vermont State University, they are recruiting out of state as well.
I just have a comment, which is, I just think it's really impressive, the progress, I guess, that the system has made in the past 4 years. And it's just really impressive. And I think it's so important to the economic vitality of the entire state. So thank you.
And my predecessor worked very, very hard on that. And I think we owe her a real debt of gratitude along with Sharon and many other folks in the system. So thank you.
The predecessor actually stats this committee.
Oh, does she?
Yes.
I just saw her
I think
today.
she's gonna be with you later this afternoon.
One of the things I was learning about as we were speaking with some of the offerings that you have, and I was really interested in understanding how the out-of-state sites fit in. And it seemed like it made a lot of sense with that Vermont, appeal, but like in Anchorage and in Wausau, Wisconsin. So I was like, I'd love to hear more about how that is, what that provides to Vermont State University, I guess, specifically, and how that recruitment strategy or how that came into being. That's really interesting.
So I can actually
Oh,
take
there
this
you go.
particular
Okay.
part of the question and then turn it over to you. The specific locations that you're referring to in Alaska and Wisconsin, et cetera, are part of the clinical mental health counseling program, which also has locations here in the state of Vermont. So they take their classes out of the Williston location. Here, when they're doing that, it is a weekend program, and it's a program that was merged into formerly Northern Vermont University and now Vermont State University. What it offers to us is the opportunity to be able to have really strong individual instructors in mental health counseling, not only for those that were teaching face-to-face, but also who have had the opportunity to teach on the national stage. So it brings those capabilities here to the state of Vermont. We also, in partnership with the Vermont Department of Mental Health, offer mental health counseling, incumbent workforce education to the designated agencies here in the state of Vermont. So that same program works with those individuals. So they work very closely with the Vermont Department of Health, in addition to the practice improvement and innovation program that's housed at Vermont State University. So that
That's
answers
good.
that part of the
Thank you.
question. But-
I was wondering Anchorage. I'm like Anchorage. But broadly, Vermont State University, and they have been in the process of really relaunching a lot of their recruitment efforts, both in state and out of state. Certainly, this name Vermont State University does resonate with folks, especially out of this in-state, obviously, but out of the state as well. And so they have started to to use that name, going to recruitment fairs to see how many students they can recruit. So it's not new, I wouldn't say, but it certainly is something that, since it's now Vermont State, has been something that they've really looked at.
Any other questions? Thank you for joining us. I just want you to know that we're here, we're champions for you. Just to give you an idea of what we've championed, and not to blow our horn, but workforce is really a strong piece of this committee. That the slaughterhouse at BTC, we really pushed appropriations to make sure that we got the funding in there to complete that project. And also the preceptors. We really talked to OPR and had a lot of conversations with trying to loosen up some of the regs on the nurses that could teach and do the clinicians for our nurses to get more nurses in. We also worked with, and so we worked with our Healthcare and Human Services Committee. We've also worked with our institutions and corrections committee on the sim labs, so that we got money in there to get more sim labs in to continue to increase our no, for nursing, the simulation labs, which helped a lot of different colleges in the state to get more nurses in. So I'm really happy to see that we've increased so much in the last few years of being able to get more nurses, more people into the program. Because it was really frustrating for us to hear that, Williston was turning away hundreds and hundreds of people that were applying to be nurses. And when we have such a shortage, and you gotta, continue to understand the issues that you're having with trying to get faculty in to teach, because it's pretty tough when, those nurses of that caliber that could teach are earning far more, working at the hospitals and in the healthcare system. So, I'm glad you continue to keep pushing on that, but, we've made some really good headway. And I'm really pleased to hear that. Thank you very much. And things come to us, let us know, things that you need that you think, will help, continue to spur workforce development and educate our people. And we really appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
We thank you. And we thank this committee for all of the support that you have provided to us, and we appreciate it and thank you for your offer.
Great. So Kayla doing too, I don't know if people were here when you were here, but Kayla used to staff Senate Economic Development. And so glad to see her now with the state colleges, so.
It's great.
We're happy to have her.
Thank you. Thank you. So why don't we take 10? Back here probably at 2. We will be talking with BJ.